There we go. FFS 50. The magic 50. Here we go.
The Magic 50, we are here.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I was just telling you, I figured a way now to incorporate the phone,
Huh.
but just use the camera function. Before,
Oh,
if I have to
you're
use
just
the phone, yeah, I'm just using the camera function. I've had to install an app which is synchronizing between the computer and the phone wirelessly. Um, so camera feed is being picked through the phone wirelessly, but all the other elements, the audio is now through the computer and the mixer. So, but before, if I had to use the phone, that meant I have to use the audio, the mic, and the sound from the phone, which wasn't also so good because, yeah, not unless I'm way close, then it would make sense. But anyway, yeah, that's why now the image is a lot more crisper than before. So yes,
wonderful,
because I want to
wonderful,
use,
wonderful.
yeah, the phone's camera is really good.
We normally say that we live to learn.
We live to learn, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So
it's just
we give
leveling up this, and that's also one of my year's goal. We need
one of the
to the goal for the year
hmm.
is to we need to see how we can this level up the our podcast, if you may want to call
Yeah.
it
In
as
fact,
such.
one of my aims is once I'm done with the huge chunk of the bike. I'll use
Yeah.
my spare room as a studio of some sorts. That's my aim. So probably set up a table, an office chair, whatnot. Start shopping for a mic so that get even some nice background, whatnot. We it's going to be sad if 5 years down the line our setup still looks like this.
That's true.
It will be like
I mean, even 5 years is too long. Even a year's time, maybe as we get like to our 100th,
because would end up
episode.
looking like a parastatal where
Yeah.
something is changed if it's broken. Mm.
Yes.
It is used, it's consumed. Like now, where I stay in at the river,
Mhm.
there's a there's a railway crossing.
Yes.
So somewhere along the line there was rain. Then the rain sort
Mhm.
of pounded through the tarmac. So that railway line has sort of been exposed.
Yes.
So vehicles are really struggling to get through that area. And I'm sure it will only go wrong. Somebody will only take action when it becomes like a serious problem, like maybe a train nearly runs through a vehicle or something like that. It's a very simple, it's just leveling it. At a railway crossing, the tarmac and the rail should be level. So vehicles can just, drive through. It's a struggle getting through that area. So
Mhm.
normally say the people in charge, of course, have big vehicles that can cruise through that section properly. But you with your small car, boda, tuk, even big vehicles like buses and trucks have problems getting through that area because it's a very sharp edge because you have a rough patch, then the metal of the rail popping out. So you can imagine the situation. And it's a
Yeah.
very simple thing it will take you even less than 2 hours of diligent working to sort out that mess. Then there's something crazy about our roads. When it rains, the tarmac for some reason washes away. So
Yeah. I think
let's not
that goes
adapt
to the.
the standard operating procedure of a parastatal. Let's seek to improve. We call it improving even when things are okay.
Yeah, it's not waiting for things to break. That's when you consider changing something or improving something.
Mm.
Um, yes, I mean this is the future, bro. Um,
Sorry for
even
that. Having
companies.
a bit of an
Sorry
episode,
about
but
that.
it's going to be okay. Yeah, you see, it's
Yeah,
all
I
about.
mean people are making investments in media because it's one of the ways now to communicate. It's no longer before, before media used to be seen, okay. You probably had your PR department. You would probably engage with media when it's maybe a product launch, something major that is happening in the organization. But in between, you're just there grinding and no one knowing what you're doing. But now, you almost need to maintain. I think somebody once mentioned it. I think it was Grant Cardone. I want to be omnipresent. You need to be everywhere and almost every time you need to be seen to be doing something. Some of it, I mean, I think can be a bit too overwhelming, but it's figuring
Yeah,
out the balance between how you spread
that's
your
the
brand, be it both your company or your personal brand, using these new tools that we now have.
that is the point I was trying also to get across.
Yeah.
Again, when I was listening to this guy Eddie, he said to some extent things are getting somehow watered down. You see, the media is like packaging. What you're actually doing is the content of the package. So there's
Hmm.
to some extent there's a lot of emphasis on the package. This is me, this is me, this is
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
But
That's
you
true.
ask yourself, okay, this is you. What are you about?
Yes.
Yeah, no, don't ask, don't ask what I'm about. Just this is me. Look at me. Okay, we are looking at you. What
Hmm.
are you doing? No, you just keep looking at me. So we are having a group of individuals here who are. It's like there are people who are very good at passing interviews,
Yes.
but when it comes to performance, now that is now completely
No.
different. Hmm. They are good. They are individuals who are excellent at interview presentation.
Hmm.
But when it comes to that boring grind of doing something, man, that's a difference. So if it's something we need to watch out against, because um, like you are there, you are always in the media, you are always propagating yourself there, you are doing this, but at the end of the day, if we go back to CSI, create, solve, improve, you're not doing much. You're not doing much. In fact, there's something Andrew Tate talked about. He was talking about manhood and suffering. And if I combine with what Eddie was saying, if you subtract suffering from growth, the growth concept fails. Growth is painful. The same way muscles will pain, will ache when they are being broken in preparation for growth when you're in the gym. So, what Andrew Tate was saying, you have a group of individuals, young men, and also women too, but our focus is on men who have reached the pinnacle or are near the pinnacle of financial wealth, or not exactly pinnacle, but they are doing very, very well for their age, for simply appearing on the electronic media for doing weird stuff. Somebody has his channel for eating soy sauce. Someone has a channel for, there's a kid with a channel for reviewing toys. Somebody with a channel for, he's playing games, so he's reviewing video games. People are 18, 17, 15, whatnot. Somebody has a channel for I don't know, watching video games. Someone has a channel. There's someone, I think it's a Kenyan lady. I think he's a TikToker. has millions of followers. In fact, Andrew Kibb was complaining she has millions of followers because she has a huge posterior. I don't know, I forget her name. In fact, the other time she used to appear on those videos with her mother. So people are really benefiting from presenting the package. Like, that gift wrap looks so
Yes.
nice, beautiful. But when you unwrap that box, either it's empty or it has that plastic crockery. That malimali inazungushwa ile iko na vichungio, plastic spoons and other weird cheap shit stuff. That is there.
Mhm.
So we need to really, as much as there's no censoring board in Kenya, and I don't want to go into this activism type, I would say specifically as a man, you have to be very careful. As you post yourself there, being a, I don't know, you are somehow trying to be a role model, or there are people looking at you, people who are at a lesser stage of development, who may want to adopt your blueprint. You may need to be very careful as to what message you are sending. You don't want young people who believe that as long as I'm well packaged, everything is okay. The explosion of the media should be an opportunity for people to present their, I don't want to say content because it's already content creation, what they have beyond the packaging. And believe me, I believe in packaging. Packaging is fantastic. That is why packaging or presentation, that is why as long as I have, you see, you can have electronics in your house. But I don't know if it happens with you. If I go to a mall or a shopping center, I see the very electronics that I have on the shelf, I feel like buying it again. Why? Looks so nice. Looks so beautiful. I wish I could buy it again. So yes, presentation,
Mhm.
packaging is very, very important. But don't allow it to reduce yourself to a facade where by beyond that one, you're still some part of the same, you're not making a difference. You are still the same member or citizen of a country that has never invented anything since forever. You're not a disruptor. And if you are doing any disruption, it's negative. You're not a positive disruptor, you're not a creator, you're not a solver, you're not an improver. You are simply packaging yourself. And if you have a lot of followers in that line, you are simply creating a very huge line of package oriented individuals. And that will lead to what we call vanity. And somehow it is now feeding the matrix. All you need to do is look good, smell good, look handsome. In fact, one thing I know, have you seen before the some of these top of the line content creators, they have people to make up their faces like they do in the normal mainstream media. They have brought it here because this one is supposed to be wake a camera 20. Somebody has a makeup team to spruce
Yeah.
him up. So we need to be very careful. This opening of the airwaves is supposed to bring out the raw aspects of what we are doing. But if we start packaging ourselves to look a certain way, 5 years down the line, don't be surprised that this opening of the airwaves is simply another ruse by the matrix to trap us. So you need to be very, very careful. That's my take on it. Whatever you do, self-regulate. Be
Mm.
careful. Again,
No,
packaging is
I mean, I hear you. Packaging is also as important as the product inside
yes,
it.
it very much
Uh,
is.
I mean,
Like my phone.
when you
Uh,
get
you look at,
when you get a new iPhone and just look at the entire packaging,
now you can even buy that
it's attractive.
phone today.
Mm. Yeah.
Then go to the shop next week, a mere 7 days later, and you see the very phone that you have in a box or in those packages, those displays on the window, cleaned up,
Mm.
polished. You want to buy. "Oh, mazee, si ninunue hiki kitu tena bwana."
Mm-hmm.
So yes, packaging is very important, but unlike the iPhone, they have the package, then there's an iPhone behind it. There's an actual iPhone behind that package. So
Yeah.
me, Brian Juma, behind this free flow Saturday, what is there? Do I
Yeah.
simply just sit back for the entire week doing nothing in particular? Then bang, hey, free flow
And I
Saturday.
guess
Yes.
that's where even aspects of authenticity comes in, because if something looks too polished up, yes, it might bring people through the door. But if they open up that package and realize it's not what was sold to them, then you know it won't keep the customers coming. The reason why the likes of the iPhone and others have still kept customers coming in over and over again is because they have matched up the packaging with the product. So I guess that's the balance to have, the balance in that it's not so much only putting up a show, but behind the scenes there's nothing to follow up with that. So, and the same with authenticity. You can be so much polished up, but people will still catch up with you at some point. People are able to smell that shit. I don't know how it happens, but it happens, and it's
They say
it's
you
it's
can't fool everyone every time.
you can't fool everyone every time.
Mm.
uh, yeah, I can see Sharif
That Mustafa
Mustafa
is
is
here.
here.
I had given him a heads up about our timing. Mm.
Hey, is he still in Kenya, or he left
No,
for
he
the
jetted back. He jetted back to Ohio.
uh
We had a very nice meeting with the guy, very
yeah.
lively session, one on
Mm.
one. So
Oh
the guy
yeah,
is
I
back
can
in
see
Ohio.
actually also saying he's following up from Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, and happy new year, Sharif Mustafa. I don't think, because this is our second Saturday of the year, actually.
Second Saturday of the year.
Mm.
Mm. So that's basically about it. You whatever it is you do, ensure
Yeah,
that what don't be so much package. Of course, you don't package yourself in a rough manner. If the iPhone was being sold in a nylon paper, as good as it is, it would affect the sales.
yeah,
But if it had a very nice packaging, then it starts failing after 1 month. I'm sure the if it's on the stock market, the stocks would crash out very quickly. So, as you say, it's all about maintaining that balance, ensuring that whatever it is you do, that there's more to you than what we see. So, yeah, that's just about it. By the
yeah.
way, are you really in the business of resolutions?
No, not really. But what I do is I do goal setting every
Hmm?
year. I do
No?
some form of goal setting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but not. I mean, you could also look at resolutions as goal settings, but I mean, the whole idea of resolutions is, you could do your goals anytime. At the start of the year doesn't mean anything changes. People like to say new year, new me, but after a few days, they still go back to who they were. So um, there's a continuous growth. I mean, the whole idea is to continually grow. You can use the principle of us crossing from one year to another to reflect on where you've been, where you come from, and what you desire that the time ahead will bring forth. What do you need to work towards? What do you wish to have? Um, you know, on all aspects of your life. So that's how I look at it, my personally.
I made one resolution, I think 10 years ago, and
Hmm.
I make it every year and I stick to it. My
Hmm.
resolution is no more making resolutions. 100% record, zero failure.
Yeah.
What I normally say is this:
Hmm.
if I need to do something, start tomorrow. Or as long as the resources are there, the
You could
availability.
actually even start right away.
Yeah, start right now. We are assuming, let's say it's now 5:30. The day
Yeah,
is nearly come to an end. But the latest you can start is tomorrow morning when you wake up.
yeah,
But a good example is when we resumed our walks. It was, I
yeah.
think, the phone call was at around 5 or something. You said, day has ended, and this is an
And
evening
boom,
thing.
right there and then you started off.
Fire
Yeah.
away. Hmm. So I think this thing of resolution, we are simply trying to use the calendar as a crutch.
Mm.
Because what if the calendar never existed? In the year 1500 or 1300, were there resolutions? But people used to do things.
Yeah.
In fact, a lot of inventions came back in the long, long ago ages. These are some of these concepts: vehicles, aeroplanes, ships. That is when there was especially in the Industrial Revolution. I highly doubt somebody there in May would say, next year, January, you have to make this plane fly. No. The right brothers just say, okay, let's go, let's do this. So let's avoid using, let's say for us as Africans, the calendar is a foreign concept for the Africans. So avoid using this thing as a crutch. Imagine you are in
Yeah.
1800. Imagine you are in 1700 in a jungle in Africa, and you are thinking
And
of improving yourself, and you don't know about the calendar. What would you say? See, if you started behaving like this, then the people around you would say you are lazy or a procrastinator, because they would say, what is a calendar? What is this man talking of?
yeah, and I guess the other thing which people always overlook, I remember I was actually even I wanted at some point to actually write a book around goal setting. I should probably look at reviving uh that goal because um actually it's instructive to look at your life, even the way to the point people look at companies. You know, companies come up with what they call the annual, operating plans, their strategic plans, um, and they're a lot more practical. And I guess this is where many people probably fall short when they think of either goal setting or whatever you might want to call it, New Year's resolutions or whatever. Again, don't use the year as a crutch. Your year can begin anytime. The best is to start it when your new life is anytime you wake up on a new day. But I think where we fall short is, we don't tend to think of it very deeply in the sense that, that person that we so desire to be is a very different person from the person that you are currently. So if you're looking to, let's say at the end of the year, to be worth X amount of money, you need to, have cut down X amount of kgs, whatever it might be, to be that person who is fit, healthy, financially stable, then it also means that your mindset changes because it's not a single switch that you just turn on. And I guess this is where we fall short, particularly when we set those goals. We don't account for the change required. Yes, you could be able, and that's why I guess people end up backsliding, if you think of it as such, after a week or so. Because if you're saying you want to be this person that goes to gym 5 times a week and all that, it's a change. It's a mindset change because you are trying to adopt a lifestyle where you will be going to the gym every so often. The person who is consistent to the gym doesn't even think of the things that you're putting down
It's an
as goals.
instinct.
For
It's
him,
an
it's
instinct.
it's part of his lifestyle. If it
Hmm.
is somebody who is worth $1 million or $1 million, this is person who probably is very productive. This is somebody who has running a business, running some form of investment, has a product that is selling, is good in sales and marketing. is all these things. So I think I was actually probably that was a topic I'd put in as a paradigm shift that once needs to go. The identity change that you need to undergo to be that person that lives that life that then accounts for those results. So if you're saying you want to be a healthy person, you can't be a healthy person if I go into your pantry and all I find is, candies and sweets and all those kind of things. You can't be a healthy person if all that you do is you're a couch potato and not active. Yeah. Probably now you should consider, redesigning your entire life. Maybe adopting a standing desk. Maybe adopting, you know, um, either walking to work or some form, depending on where you're situated and what you can be able to do. Maybe when you're going to work, carry in your trainers or something so that you can be able to do a walk over lunch hour or a walk in the evening and then later, hop onto your car and drive back home. So it requires that change. The people already have adopted that. I used to admire a good friend of mine a while back, and he was so religious. He had already, when he built that routine, that guy, nothing could change it. He had a routine, he had hacked it, and he was, rather, he was very diligent about it. In the evening at 6 p.m., he never used to schedule phone calls at around 6:30 because that was the time he was going to be um, doing his evening walk. So one, you probably need to figure out to be that person, change your change your change your change your routine and those kind of things. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. So as you look to be a particular person, factor in what needs to happen to be
Um,
that person.
to maybe further strengthen your point, I
Yes,
think you have to consider yourself like a child.
yes,
Don't do it's like you're in elementary school or nursery school, depending of which country you are. Then you are doing Form 4 mathematics.
yes.
That will be total failure. Mm. You need
Yeah,
to you need to behave like you're a child. Like now, uh, brushing your teeth is a routine. You don't even think about it. But
yes,
for a 3-year-old boy, you need to impress upon them the need to brush their teeth. I remember there are poems that used to sing about morning routines. I think we said it before. Things like whiteboards, things like
you were
phone-based
calling me.
reminder, things
Yeah, I
like
remember you
electronic
mentioned last
diaries
Saturday. Mm,
to sort of cue you in. They seem rather childish, but you are a child in that concept. You've
exactly.
never
Yeah,
had that routine for over 30 years of your life. You don't expect just to wake up in the morning, bam, and you're no. In fact, those routines take time to a point where you don't even notice them. It's only that for me, like, I don't know, maybe I should, this is just a wake up call for me now to invest in gumboots because for the last 2 days, I've
hmm,
not walked because for some weird reason, I don't know, it's El Nino. It has been raining heavily in that river. In fact, I'm ready to, in fact, the time I was just opening my door, a crazy downpour comes down and I'm like, now I can't go. Then it's a wake up call for me. Is a raincoat and gumboot so expensive? There are things I can buy. A raincoat because part of the route that I walk is quite muddy. But if I have gumboots and a raincoat, it stops being an excuse. So it also involves being critical with yourself. So yes, you have missed on I think 2 to 3 days now because it's the El Nino is acting weird. During the day it's it's hot, it's the sun is up. 6 o'clock, all of a sudden the clouds are forming, boom. It's a crazy shower. So it's important you should be like you should be your best critic and your best fan. Where you go wrong, you have to step up and look at the mirror because uh, yes, it's raining, but are there floods which are killing people? No, it's not like there's a flood here that when you go out there you're going to be swept by rain and your body get picked up. So no, it's just heavy rain with the mud on the ground. So what do you do? Imagine this is a typical work day. You're an employee. Will your boss really accept the fact that you came late to work because of rain? Ndio kijana wacha mchezo bwana.
Yeah,
So
you have to plan for that.
so basically I think self critique is very important. We are not really critical about ourselves sometimes. We are not critical about
Yeah,
ourselves. You
I guess it's a sense of self-awareness. I know something that personally I've been struggling with is that level of consistency. And as you say, probably adopting that approach that you shared, where have a board that you can be able to track. And I remember I also used to have some bit of some tracking tools in place. Um, Actually, even I'm reading a book called "The Mountain Is You," which says, you're your biggest enemy. Once you overcome yourself, they say once you overcome the enemy within, there's no enemy without that you can't conquer. So the point is conquer yourself first to be able to conquer any other external obstacle there. Actually, if you more or less conquer yourself, you find then everything else becomes a walk in the park.
in
And
fact,
it says that breakthroughs, change does not happen in breakthroughs. It happens in what it calls microshifts. I actually tweeted this earlier this week. So it is in the small things that you do. Think of it as more even as a compounding effect. Um, and because we probably don't get to notice this. Um, and I guess nature is so instructive because it shows us clearly. When you think of even when you plant a seed, they say if actually, I think the perfect example is a baobab tree, because for several years you don't see it growing. But then there will come a time it will just start shooting up. You're wondering what was happening in those many years before it. Let me share that tweet that I put across. So
it's
there's
sort of
the
it's sort
change.
of
The change happens in the small little things. So it's for us to figure out how we
you don't change, you don't change in breakthroughs, you change in microshifts.
you
Yeah,
change in Microsoft. And I think the power also in grounding oneself. I remember hearing Steve Harvey saying this. He said, I think it was an interview was being somewhere in a radio station, and he said, I live my life in 24-hour increments. So, coming back to that well-known, saying of living day by day, or just putting one foot in front of the other, learning that yes, you can plan 5-10 years in future, but those 10 years are only impacted by what you're doing in the now, what you're doing today, and learning how you can sort of don't put yourself too much in the future, and also don't get stuck in the past. I've said this, I think, before. So learning to ground yourself in the day to day is important. So what are those micro shifts that one needs to focus on towards their goal? So it's a very powerful thing to
Like
internalize.
they say a
Mhm.
1% improvement per day equals to 36.5% improvement in a year, considering
Mhm.
365 days in a year. 1% improvement give you 36.5% in a year.
Mhm.
So probably what happens, you get to one, start with 1%, then after a month you are only like 3%. Like 3% only. This one is going nowhere.
Yeah,
That
actually, even the perfect analogy is the one, the person who tells you, "Can I give you a million dollars right now, or I give you a cent that doubles every day?"
it
You
doubles
don't
every
realize it.
infinitely.
Yes, within 10 or so days, that's when that shit becomes, it now begin to make sense, because you probably, because you had a 1 cent starting.
You say $1 million
And that was
today.
$1 million. No, let me tell you. Let me get the exact analogy. It's 1 million. Should I give you $1 million,
Hmm.
or is it $1 a day?
But you see now,
Uh,
that's a very interesting situation because
it's a
um,
dollar a day that doubles every day.
there's only one problem with that. What if I'm bound to die next week?
Actually, it is $1 million and 1 penny that doubles for 30 days. No, you can't think pessimistically. You're not gonna die. Are you sick?
Well, you see, there are two ways around it. Um, a cent that doubles every day, that is for what you call a long-term safe thinker. You're thinking long-term and you're taking the safe route. Giving me 1 million take away, kwenda nayo, that's for a risk taker.
Yes. For a risk taker, it makes sense because they can even double that money within a
Yeah,
few days, depending
if
on
you
the business
prefer the
that you're
safe route,
doing.
if you
But let's
prefer,
say there's no business in place. So you have a million and the other person has a penny,
let's say
and everything remains constant.
let's say there's no zero bike, there's no timer, I'm just in that
Yes,
state of neutrality where there's nothing in my mind that is pending on something. I'd
yes,
rather have that one which is multiplying slowly,
yes.
because if you are given a huge chunk of resources and your state of mind is not
It
tuned,
doesn't know how to multiply it.
or there's nothing that is pending on your end that needed resources, chances are you are going to waste it.
Exactly.
Chances are you're going to. That's why I normally say, even if not having resources does not give you an excuse not to think of something. Think
Hmm.
of something, put something down, grind your mind, brainstorm over something. You never know when the next $1 million will land on. Now, you'll say that you take the 1% and whatnot, but now you are suffering the consequences of not having an active mind.
Hmm.
You are suffering the consequence of not having an active mind. Your mind should be like a radar or an antenna, always on the lookout for solutions. So that if 50,000 shillings lands in your pocket, you know where this will be taken. As opposed to 50K in your pocket by Friday. Okay,
It's
now
all gone.
Chantel, wow.
It's
By
the same
Monday,
thing. They,
from
they say
50,000
sometimes,
to 200
yeah.
shillings. Chantel,
Mm,
Njeri, Nafula, zote zimeenda. And That is definitely not going to happen. That is definitely what is going to happen if you don't have a problem solving mentality. Your mind is
Yeah.
not segmented into problem solving slots that this you can be solved by this amount, this you can take care by this. But if your mind is on free fall, that mind is also free falling.
Mm.
So as much as the second option looks nice, it on a long term basis, it looks very nice. The question would ask, how come your mind is not ready to launch on something fantastic? It should be like a Formula One car, ready to go. But if $1 million lands in your pocket and you do not know what to do with it, let's say if you are in your 20s, okay, we may excuse you a bit because you have fallen victim to the programming. But 30s, 40s, lack of resources, lack of financial resources doesn't mean lack of mental resources, does
Mm.
it?
No.
Does it? No. Your mind should be like a radar. Where you are, this I can. And we normally say the best way of making money is making money by solving problems. Why
Mhm.
do you think they are called consulting physicians? They make thousands of shillings per appointment. Why? They solve problems for you. They don't use a hammer or nails or a hacksaw. They talk to you. Do this, do this, do this. 5,000 shillings, just like that. Problem
Mm.
solving. Problem solving will take you very far, and it starts
I
mentally.
mean, do you even remember that parable? That parable in the Bible of people who are given talents, and one guy decided to just go and hide his talent.
Yes,
Um, there was even, I think, was there one who was given talent, but at least he traded his talent for one thing or the other,
yes.
but went into a loss, but
Mm.
all the same was congratulated by is it Jesus
The
or who
boss.
was the boss, whoever was the one who had given them the talent. But
Mm.
the one who went and hid his talent was reprimanded because he didn't make use of his talent.
That
So
one, in fact,
it's in you know,
even
utilizing what you're given.
even in workplaces, when they are
Yeah,
doing what we call annual budgeting, if your department or your section is allocated money, then at the end of the year you return a very significant portion of the money.
yeah,
You'll be reprimanded because we gave you these resources in favor against someone else because you
yeah.
plead
That's true.
your case well. Probably your case made a lot of sense, and for some reason you are returning the money. So
Correct.
as much as the second option seems logically okay in terms of saving and being patient, but the first option will ask you, so you mean if one so if we gave you 1 million, let's say second option of the expanding uh, dollar or penny was not there, and we gave you $1 million, that means it will be wasted. At the end of a year you'll be having nothing. You will probably be having five baby mamas and a broken down Mercedes Benz and maybe a mortgage. That $1 million would have ruined you. So that means we gave money to a teenager. So
Mm.
we'll really question your state of mind. Should
Mm.
be like a Formula One car ready for fuel. The only thing remaining is fuel. Fuel this thing and take off. If your mind is
Mm.
not like that, then we have a problem.
Mm.
Then we have a problem, and it is a reflection of the programming because we live in a world where partying and having a good time is the name of the game. I'm very sure if you stood on the streets of Nairobi and you gave everyone 500,000 shillings, I'm sure if it's on a Friday at 10 p.m., few people will report back to work, and there's going to be a carnival in CBD. It's going to be party time.
Yes.
It's going to be an explosive scene. The clubs will be on fire
Mm-hmm.
because we have this thing that, in fact, somebody was telling me that sherehe ni sheria.
Mhm.
I've no problem with kusherekea, but what are you celebrating? And let's face it, one of the issues that really bother me, and sometimes I have to really sort of limit my thinking and control myself, because no matter what you do, no matter what you think, no matter how your mind is operating, you need to regulate yourself. One of my ever uh, persistent or nagging thoughts is, when are we going to join the global table of relevance in terms of creating things? I've gone to a point, whenever I see a nice car on the road, I admire it's a nice car, but when are we making ours? That is what we should be thinking of. You see something beautiful,
Mm.
and it's most likely an 8-year-old import. I say, when are we making ours? Oh, it's like I was in fact comparing the second-hand car market with second-hand clothes market. We are just a glorified Gikomba for vehicles. Ah, he has
Mhm.
a Range Rover, XUK, 8 years. Hey, chief. Yeah, by the way, it's a very nice car. That
Mhm.
2015 Range Rover, it's a fantastic looking vehicle, but it's a Mtumba.
Mm.
It's a hand me down. So when are we making ours? Okay, when do we begin? Because uh, if you look at it critically, we normally say talk of issues of racism and whatnot, but the people who complain about racism, they are the people who contribute nothing to the global table. Our
Mm.
president today is going to ask for aid and grants and loans. So if uko kwa mtaa, you're living in an estate, and one of your neighbors is known for always begging for salt, matchboxes, mafuta ya kupikia, sijui nini, you always look down on this motherfucker.
Mm.
Yeah. You'll always look down on the guy who's always running around. His kids are in tattered clothes, mara amefukuzwa shule, mara vita vimetokea kwa hiyo nyumba, he's beaten up his wife. And whenever he is given money, maybe you found him really stuck, reach into your wallet, give him a couple of thousand shillings to go take home, at least watoto wakule kitu. That is the day you find him on the trench, punch drunk. This is what we are as a country. That's where this developed country look at us. They give us money, billions of dollars, and you're like, "Ah, hii pesa inaenda wapi?" Of course, I know the money that comes from the Bretton Woods institutes comes with some strings attached. It's not exactly direct money. There are some other underlying issues, but you can do something with it. Because case study is Japan. Japan, I think, so far holds a record for the biggest. They are the biggest receiver of World Bank backing after the Second World War, when they were
Mm.
flattened in Nagasaki and Hiroshima. I think up to date, that injection of money was very huge. And now they're the biggest contributors to World Bank.
Amazing. I mean,
So,
even when you think of even Europe, when after World War II, it was completely in shambles. It
mm,
was what they called the Marshall Plan, and I think also the Bretton Woods was born out of that. If my history serves me right,
mm.
um, and I guess probably it was more or less the same plan that they used. I don't know who received which one first, or who received the biggest chunk of those of that money, but it's the same thing. Europe, they had this thing they call the Marshall Plan, and is what led to sort of a revival. But they already had sort of, if you think about it, they had the fundamentals in place. I mean, it's not to mean that the likes of Mercedes Benz were born just the other day.
No,
Uh, these were people that started manufacturing cars long before. So you definitely the money was channeled to rebuilding the country. I don't know why for Africa that has become a challenge. Definitely, I wouldn't also recommend the likes of World Bank.
they are not. You
But
see,
we might be in a corner where some practical aspects might be we can't run away, but it's now to figure out how do we wean ourselves out of that donor dependency, or rather, having to always go, because now we've just become their slaves again. We have no say.
You see, this is where I normally ask myself, when these people are having their meetings, this so-called the top brass, what do they talk about? Because in this space of ours, we've talked of countries like we say Eastern Africa bloc, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, Somalia, Djibouti, forming not necessarily the what we call the East African community. That East African community is just too formal. An informal setup whereby we discuss our petrodollar requirements, then go to our petroleum suppliers as a group and ask for a discount. That small percentage discount has a very huge impact on our dollar consumption. It's like when you show up
It does.
at a what do we call it? Maybe this sort of wholesale or something. You go as a group of people. You really don't know
Yeah.
each other that much, but your common your bond is that aspect of getting a good price, and you go
Yeah.
there tunataka to buy this commodity in bulk, then you discuss discounts, then you say split at source, simshalipa as a group, unaambia kila mtu tuwekee gawanya hii kipande yake, then you split, kila mtu aende once you get out of the shop kila mtu anaenda kivyake. So we try implementing that, and you see how much a dent will inflict on the dollar. Our biggest headache is dollar consumption. Any country that is
And
trading is any country that is trading using the currency of another country becomes a slave to that country.
that's true.
It's
No,
like
what you
me, I'm
say is
in your
very
house.
right.
I'm in your house,
Mhm.
then I'm relying on your house for washroom facilities. I'm in trouble.
Mhm.
Hmm? So my take is, even with the you can't say that you are fighting. No, no, no. We can corruption will just exist in one or another. But if the dollar is somehow staved off, the dollar consumption, not okay, staving off is a bit dramatic. If it is
Yeah.
managed, if you say
Reduced managed
this
and
year we want to say we want to gain 20 shillings on the dollar, what are we going to do? And the biggest consumption, that petroleum consumption. If you can get a regional discount, that will spur business to crazy level. And you don't, in fact, the moment you start discussing it and the resolution is passed, that speculation causes the dollar to dip. The beautiful thing about the dollar, even the Americans to some extent, it's really out of their control to some extent. A speculation can make it dip.
yeah. No, that's true.
Speculation that there's a meeting going on in so and so East African countries, Eastern African region. They are now purchasing their fuel as a block while negotiating for a discount. That already you start gaining 1 or 2 shillings.
Because
That's
yes, because even
mm,
now, even the manufacturers now, everyone will be thinking, "Hey, what does that mean to us? Are we going to lose the deal to a competitor?
mm,
Um, what does that mean? Are we? Because even now, when they go in as one, they can even they'll get discounts because it's bulk buying,
mm,
and then two, they'll be able to reduce on that dollar demand, as you're
yes.
saying. So
Mm.
no, 100%. And it
That
is
is
the
what
one single thing that could be very transformative, at least
mm,
in the immediate term. I mean, this is something, give or take, because you're talking about governments. Maybe if it were to be implemented, let's say at the first point somebody maybe brings it up, and maybe implementation happens in 3 to 6 months. That's actually quite fast. Because you're talking of governments, they have a many number of other things they have to look at. I don't know if somebody had hedged the price of fuel for a certain period, or how do they, renegotiate those contracts again in light of this.
the
It could
beautiful
even
thing is
take
that
more than a year.
contracts are
But
not written
the
in
point is,
stone.
if they even go through to it, and even if it happens even a year or so down the line, it's still a win.
In fact, it can be gradual. Maybe you
Yeah,
have Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, Ethiopia, Djibouti. Those are 7 countries.
yeah.
Maybe you can have 2 or 3 countries which have hedging agreements. So
Hmm.
out of these 7, if we have 3 countries which are ready to launch, that's a win. And if it performs well, the rest will be very quick, even going back to the contracts and negotiating
Renegotiate. Yeah.
that hedging agreement to join this one. Then you deal with that. That is on an international basis. In local basis, you now sit down with the Kenya Association of Manufacturers and ask, okay, what is your common import? Kenya Association of Manufacturers per industry. What is the common input? Common input is this. Can we set up a fund whereby this commodity can be bought in bulk by 10 or 15 companies, then again split at source, whereby you start merging their production plan, operation plans are merged so that this product can be purchased in bulk and you become subject to particular discounts. Production planning is very simple. If the directors of a company are told that if we can rework our production plan or operation plan so that this commodity can be purchased at the same time as this, so that it's a bulk and we get something like a 5% discount. If you're spending like $2 million on something, then 5% of $2 million, that's quite a chunk.
Mm.
So within 1 year of business, the dollar demand of each manufacturing sector also takes a dip. It's now we are not fighting the system. It's like tuning the system to your requirements. The same way when you're in a sailboat, you're not fighting the wind. You're adjusting the sails of your boat so that the wind favors you. There's no sailor who will tell you that you can fight the wind. No. What happens is the sails which are adjusted. So the sail of this vessel called MV Kenya, where are the sails facing? Or do you have any sails to be to start with? So that is the issue. The wind, let's say the wind is the Bretton Woods institution, no problem. So how do you adjust it? Well, let's say the winds are the is the dollar to Kenya shilling relationship. How are we rigging it to? Because you're not stealing, it's just rigging the system to your favor.
Mm.
Then that thing I like touting about, that truck on train system, a policy whereby if you have a truck that is covering more than 300 kilometers, load it on a train. So your fuel consumption, it will be converted into paying for that transportation fee, which will be of course lesser than a fuel bill, but wear and tear of the vehicle is lesser because the shocks, bushes, whatnot, those are they are imported in dollars, but you are importing less of them because your vehicle is covering a very long distance without wear and tear of your shock absorber, without getting worn down. That converts into lesser consumption of these commodities, which are purchased in dollars. It's very unfortunate that our our strategy involves reducing our reliance on another currency. It's not even our currency. And you actually, somebody will answer, how did you get yourself in this stinking mess? We don't manufacture enough. Our strategy is based on, I don't know what we do. I would want one day somebody to share some transcript of a normal meeting, high level meeting in Kenya. I would really like to
I would also want to be a fly, fly on the
uh,
wall just to
I
hear
just
those
listen so that
deliberations because
we may be talking like this, and maybe we may be having what we call a ceremonial administration. You
as you
never
say,
know. This
we are the crazy ones, eh?
whether
So,
chance, I don't know, because uh, maybe it's a ceremonial thing. Maybe there's some. In fact, someone else posted a picture of the is it the ambassador of USA to Kenya, some lady. They said she's
Yeah,
the actual
I
president of
saw
the
that.
republic. Hmm?
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, because what we are talking is pure common sense. And if a country like Singapore can pick up from nowhere and become like this, like for example, if somebody was to say, higher,
Doesn't
let's,
even have a fraction of the resources we have.
in fact, I was thinking, if we are to have that sort of arrangement with other countries in bulk petroleum purchases, who will stop us? Is there a
From what?
policy?
Mm.
Is there a policy that prevents that? And you see, if we have 7 countries, not a must that all 7 of them do it. 2 countries is
Mhm.
enough. 2 countries
That's
whose
true.
entire petroleum requirements are imports. Two are enough to get yourself a discount.
Yeah.
And when the rest see it happening, they'll join in. Now imagine a situation whereby the whole of Africa unites on such a deal. The whole of Africa. Let's say, okay, that's too much dramatic. The whole of Eastern
Can be
Central
it
Africa.
can be it can be based on the blocks, the economic blocks.
Let's
So
say
the
Eastern,
EAC,
we
the
move, okay,
SADC,
we have now,
the
we
COMESAs.
can be having one block. Then, for some reason, the good news spreads, then another block forms. Then, out of wishful thinking, these two blocks again merge. Imagine 2 blocks of African countries getting their fuel requirements on a discount. We may even talk of 30% discount. A 30% discount on a petroleum product, we are in heaven.
Yeah.
You are in heaven without dying. You know, when you talk about heaven, you associate it, you have died. No, you are in heaven, but you've actually created your own heaven. That's why I normally listen to Sadhguru, this Indian guy. He normally says, it's okay, you talk of dying, go to heaven, but you are a human being, the creature with the highest level of intelligence. You have the capacity to create your own heaven right here. And the evidence of our high level intelligence is based on the fact that we've created hell.
For
If you can,
ourselves on this
yeah,
earth. Huh?
because if you can create hell, that means you can also create heaven. Because there's no lightness without there's no darkness without light. These are two opposites. One needs to the other to exist. We can't talk of heaven when there's no hell. We can't talk of darkness when there's no light. So if we have the formula for hell and we are implementing it very well right now, then if you adjust some parameters in that formula, it becomes the formula for heaven. Even with my small mathematics, I normally say opposite formulas. It's just adjusting some parameters here and there, and the formula changes. So the intelligence that we are applying to create the hell, why don't we change to create the heaven? That's why I insist. I don't know if they can pass a resolution whereby, okay, matter of security, that is something else. But these other meetings, we hear what these people talk about. We are here maybe wanaongea juu ya kachumbari.
Or
Hmm.
and I think sometimes they do share a bit of those cabinet resolutions. But the point is, how do you get involved? But then again, also, do you want to muddy the whole waters with everyone feeling they have a stake in this, and just too many hands that spoil the broth? So I don't know. It's a bit of a balance, but
The best
I
way
mean,
I
it's
think,
evident. It's evident, of the resolutions they are making, looking at the sort of the policy environment that we are living in, or in the environment, be it economically or socially. It's got certain byproducts or certain, outcomes that we are seeing that clearly reflect the decision making that is going on there, because there is a decision being made one way or the other. If you don't also make a decision has been made. So it's evident to what they're saying. We don't even need to be in that room, but we can
consider
attest
the
to
outcomes.
it. We can see the outcome. Yeah.
Tato is here. Karibu sana Tato. Oh,
Happy
karibu
Tatu.
means welcome in Africa, in Kenya, Swahili.
Yeah.
So
Although we are closing now.
we're about to
I've
close,
got
but
a,
we
yeah.
we celebrate. It's like you've come to a feast when the feast is ending. So you just give you a bottle of water and whatever is left in the cooking pot, you can have it. But it's nice to see you here. Nice to see you around. Uh, so I think that boils down to one thing. Whatever you can do to your capacity, do it. That 0.0001% that do it, so
Yeah.
that we
I,
avoid. Yes,
I agree. The whole idea is just to bring it back home, and bringing it back home is to you,
yes.
what you have
Because at the end
control
of
of,
the day,
because
somebody will
everything
challenge
else,
you.
you don't want to, waste your time and thinking of things that are out of your control. When you talk of government, when you talk of
Yes,
government policies, if you're not in it,
we are not in it.
then you
As
have
much
no
as
say in it.
you are discussing it, let us discuss it maybe as for analytical purposes, but for the actual inputs, better be having something. You never know when someone may ask you, "So, Andrew, what are you doing?"
Exactly.
That is, in fact, someone will ask you, "Okay, you have very nice ideas. You are doing okay, no problem. Okay, so what are you doing in your capacity?" That's why I say avoid being what we call the KCB, Kenya Complaints Battalion, and I shared it. Avoid complain. Don't be hard complaining even to yourself.
Mm,
We can discuss, we can analyze, but whining and grinding and moaning about it, no. In fact, this one can be used to turn into advantage. You in
yeah.
your own tiny, tiny microscopic disruptions, keep doing it. Keep
Exactly.
doing what
Yeah,
you're doing.
those challenges are opportunities. And as you
Yes.
say, we started off saying that change does not happen in the major big breakthroughs. It happens in the microshifts. And
Microshifts
and then when you also think about it, your biggest enemy, when you bring it back,
is
is
yourself.
yourself.
Is yourself.
Is yourself.
Because
If you're alive in this world, your biggest enemy will always be you,
because
because you're constantly improving yourself to overcome that part of you that is still holding you back.
it's
And
like
and it's
when
it's 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 like an entire lifetime's endeavor when you think
that's
about it.
why when it will be very unfortunate when people are discussing the issue, they are pointing out mistakes on the government is this, and then in conclusion they ask, okay, so as an individual, what tiny percentage are you doing?
Mhm.
Try to sort of, like, there's a very huge tree, very huge. Can you show us those small depressions you've made on that tree to try to bring it down? And the tree looks perfect. Hujaweka hata even a razor blade or a nail to bring it down. So those tiny microscopic activities which you do that nobody praises you for, they look like you're doing nothing. Their effect is lit to some it literally the effect literally non-existent. That is what we are looking at. The same way you put water in a fridge, it is not going to turn into ice after 2 minutes or 10 minutes, but you wake up in the morning, you'll find it turn into a block of ice. It's a very slow process. That's why you normally say trust the process. But the moment you sit back and commit your resources to complaining, you are just you're not even you're not even part of the solution. You're not part of the problem. You're just part of the furniture. You can be
Yeah.
replaced in seconds. You see, nobody, unless the furniture is very, very good, but no more, people rarely notice furniture.
Yes.
You can notice, uh, I don't know, but you cannot notice. Don't be part of the furniture. Stand out positively in some ways. Those small contributions, like I say, 1% per day equals to 36.5% in a year. So as much as uh, we may analyze what the government is doing, but if you are put on the frying pan of a personal audit and they ask you, okay, so far you are 40 years of life, what are you doing so far? You should be able to answer that question very constructively. But if you are here to complain, then you better keep quiet. I'm yet to hear of any situation where complaints brought any kind of change. In fact, whenever you hear people complaining, they complain, then they are given a small token ya kuwanyamazisha, and then it ends there. But people who take action, things tend to work out for them. And we've blasted away 1 hour and 10 minutes unrehearsed. Imagine.
Unrehearsed.
Mm.
Free flowing Saturdays. And that's exactly what it is.
Shout
And
out to
I've seen
Robert
some good friends.
SFDC. Karibu sana.
Robert SFDC in the house. Good to
Sorry,
see you,
we
Robert.
started our podcast earlier.
Yeah.
Andrew had some engagements to do, so we started at 5. But God willing, next Saturday we'll be back to the 7 to 8. But today we had to do 5 to 6 to release Andrew to do what he had to do. So sorry for the inconvenience, Robert SFDC. But tunasema asante for showing up, and again, our usual lone wolf audience was been here with us since the days we were just a couple of rambling. Don't know if we are crazy people, but tunasema maximum gratitude to all of you. Unless Andrew, you want to say something?
No, nothing much.
Then
Just
we can say the
appreciate
usual
all the guys that have come
adios.
in. Thank you guys. See ya.